Good day, viewers. My name is Darlington Okoka, and I welcome you to Deal with Electrical YouTube channel. Today, we are still continuing with our understanding the vector group of a transformer. On the first week, we talked about the nomenclatures being used by the International Electrotechnical Commission for naming the vector groups of transformers. Sometime early this week, we also talked about the star connection. Then last 2 days back, we talked about the delta connection. But today, we are going to be looking at the low voltage and high voltage windings on a transformer as indicated on the nameplate of the transformer and having the vector group diagram. Now let's look at our screen. You would see that the vector group of this shows that YND11. YND11. So what this entirely means that the high voltage winding is connected in star and the neutral is brought out from the high voltage winding. YD means the low voltage winding is delta, and the angle between them is on 11 o'clock, and our 11 o'clock is plus 30 degrees. So the low voltage winding leads the high voltage winding by 30 degrees, or the low voltage winding lags the high voltage winding by 330 degrees. That's exactly what this transformer nameplate tells us. So, but obviously today we're not going to be focusing more on that, but we're going to be explaining how does YND11 or all those nameplates for the vector group translate into our vector diagram and into how the transformer was being wounded. It's very important to understand how it's wounded, because if you don't understand how it's wounded, you might run into problems when you are doing a parallel connection of the transformer. Now on my screen, I have a diagram of a clock. I've explained this in depth when I was doing the star and delta. You could see this is 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock minus 30, minus 60, minus 90, because we are moving in a clockwise direction. But when we are moving in an anti-clockwise direction, from 12 to 11 is 30 degrees, from 12 to 10 is 60 degrees, 12 to 9, 90 degrees, 12 to 8, 120, 12 to 7, 150, but 12 to 6, 180, 12 to 6, 180. So this is what you need to have at your fingertips. Now, we are going to see how we are going to connect. There are 14 different obtainable vector diagrams for low voltage and high voltage. And you must, once you understand the basics, it's very easy for you to draw. So when we say YY0, YY0 means the high voltage is star, the low voltage is star, and there's no phase shift between them. Phase shift is 0. Therefore, now for the high voltage side, we have Y0. That means this is star side, this is your star network, and this is your A, and this is your winding. So when you draw these two things together, you are going to have what your windings, your high voltage winding is, and this is your low voltage windings. Your voltage winding is Y0, small letter Y0. So look at it very well. Your high voltage 0, that means your winding is connected to the 12 o'clock position, and this is it. Your W1 is connected to the 12 o'clock position, your W2 is connected to the B position, your W3 is connected to C. That's for your high voltage winding. For your low voltage winding, you have W4, W5, W6. That's to show you that there are 6 windings on the transformer. So that's for the low voltage side. Your W4 now, if you look at it, is connected to A. Therefore, W5 is connected to B. This is B. Your W6 is connected to C. This is C. So this is small a, small b, and small c. Now we now move to the drawing. So it's very easy to draw. Very easy to draw. Now look at it. This is they told us that we are going to be drawing YY0 with no neutral. But usually there should be a neutral for this kind of transformer. It's supposed to be YYN, YNY0 or YYN0. So it depends. So since there is no neutral, this is how you are supposed to draw it, because there is no neutral. Now this is the high voltage side. The high voltage side is star side. So you can see that this is your W1, this is your W2, this is your W3. Your W1, the one is connected to A, this is your polarity side is connected to A. Your W2, the polarity side is connected to B. Your W3 polarity side is connected to C. W3 polarity side is connected to C. You could see it. This is how it is. Then for the low voltage winding, this is the low voltage winding. You have W4, W5, W6. Now your polarity side is connected to A. Polarity side is connected to A. The polarity side of W5 is connected to B. Polarity side of W6 is connected to B. The polarity side of W6 is connected to C. Polarity side of W6 is connected to C. So this is how you draw a YY0 connection. Then if you want to bring out the neutral, you can loop all the non-polarity side together and bring out your N. Now the same thing happens to DD0. DD0 means the delta side of the high voltage side is delta connected, the low voltage side is delta connected, and they are 0 degree apart. So let's see how this operates. Now for 0 degree apart, for them being 0 degree apart, you know that like I told you earlier, that if something is 0 degree apart, the connection for high voltage winding is different from when something is delta connected. The connection for for star connection is usually good. I told you in the last class that is usually good in 12 o'clock or 0 point, while the connection for high voltage for delta connection are usually good in 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Did I make myself clear? The connection for star connection is usually good, or you have a balanced connection when it's on 12 o'clock or 0 o'clock. That is 12 o'clock or 0 o'clock, or most people say 6 o'clock. But for delta connection, the connection is usually good when it's on 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, because 11 o'clock gives us 30 degree, 1 o'clock gives us 30 degree. 1 o'clock is minus 30 degree, 11 o'clock is plus 30 degree. So any of the two that gives us a good vector diagram is where we are going to put. The most ideal thing is that there is no voltage change between them. Now look at it properly. So now if we are saying that the connection is at 1 o'clock, that means both of them should also be at the same time. So let's see the high voltage side, the vector diagram for DD0. So let's do for the delta side, they are 0 degrees apart. For the delta side, we have D11. So when we have D11, that is the location where we want it to be, because 11 delta side are usually good at 11 or 1. But because the 0 is positive, so that is why we prefer to use 11. So you can see that it's 30 degrees apart, and this one, the low voltage side too, is also 30 degrees. So 30 and 30 is 0. It balances back to 0. The phase shift is still 0 because they are both 30-30. There's no difference between them. So we only chose to use the one that is suitable for our winding connection. So you see that if you look at this 30 degree on 11 now, that you see this 0 now that is showing this 0 means the angle at which is shifting. It doesn't mean that you go and put it on 12 o'clock position. So you can see that we have converted DD0 to capital D11 and small d11. That means our high voltage side is on 11 o'clock, our low voltage side is on 11 o'clock, then the shift difference is 0. So if you connect, we've drawn the delta connection before. This is the delta connection. So since it's on 11, and this 11 is, if you look at it very well, is this B. So when you draw this, you put it on W1, W2, W3. W1 now is moving away from B. Therefore, W2 should be moving away from C. Therefore, W3 should be moving away from A. Also with your W4, W5, and W6. So when you draw the vector diagram, they will be identical. You can see that W1, the polarity winding is connected to A. W1, the polarity winding is connected to A. W2, the polarity winding is connected to B. W2, the polarity winding is connected to B. W3, the polarity winding is connected to C. W3, the polarity winding is connected to C. You can see it. So, yes. W3, the polarity winding is connected to C, while the non-polarity winding of W1 is connected to A. The non-polarity winding of W3 is connected to A. The non-polarity winding of W3 is connected to A. So that is how you draw this winding. So similarly too, let's take a look at YD1. This one, there is a phase shift of 1, and 1 is 1 o'clock. That is what 30 degrees. If you look at it, 1 is 1 o'clock. That is 30 degrees phase shift. And I told you that your reference point is your high voltage winding. It's your low voltage winding that displaces to suit the high voltage winding. Your low voltage winding displaces to suit the low voltage winding. So if you have your Y now and you have 30 degrees, that means this is to show you that your low voltage winding is lagging behind the high voltage winding by 30 degrees. So YD1 now, I told you that your star is good at your 0 position or your 12 o'clock position. So your Y now is Y0, 12 o'clock. So but it's 30 degrees apart. That means 30 degrees apart. So how does it move? You can see that it's moving backward. If it moves like this now, that is to show you that if you look at how the arrow is, who is in front from this now? You could see that your Y0 is in front of D11. Your delta now is on 11, because that is how you get your YD1. Because if you look at it now, from 12 to 11, you are having 30 degrees apart. 30 degrees apart. So 1 o'clock means 30 degrees apart. So irrespective of the 30 degrees you choose, but I've told you that your Y is good at 12 o'clock and your D is good at 11 o'clock. So the angle that changes, this is the angle that changes automatically for you to have that. So when it moves that way, you have gotten your 30 degrees apart. I hope this is very clear. So getting this your YD1 to be 0, you can now draw it exactly how it wants to be. So your HV side is Y0, your LV side is D11. So for us to have our Y0, you would see that exactly that the windings of W1 is in 12 o'clock for Y0. So this is how your Y0 connection will be. Then for your D11, it shows that your windings is on 11 o'clock, and this is how it will be. Look at it very well. On 11 o'clock, it shows that your W4 is moving on your B part. Your W5 is moving away from your C part. Your W6 is moving away from your A part. In that case, you can draw your windings accurately. I hope that is understood. So this is how you draw your windings for high voltage side and your windings for the low voltage side, and you accurately get exactly how we've drawn this before when we were talking on star connection, and we've drawn this before when we're talking on delta connection. So when you bring it together, you will get this. The next one is DY1. Now on your DY1 means that the high voltage side is delta, the low voltage side is star, and they are on 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock means 30 degrees apart. So it's 30 degrees apart. I told you that your delta should always be your reference point. So that is to show you that as they are 30 degrees apart, which is better for you. You could see that your Y0 now, your delta now is where your reference point is D1. So, and it's positive. So it means that it's moving in this direction. So that is to show you that your star connection is lagging behind your delta connection by 30 degrees. So your Y0 now, this is your Y0, and this is your D1. So your D1 is front, while your Y0 is lagging behind. So that is to show you. So some people might be asking, why didn't we use D11? But I told you that 11 and 1 are the good location for your delta connection, and your delta connection is on your high voltage side. So you can see that your high voltage side, you have to take 1, so we can take cognizance of this 30 degrees, which is 1 o'clock apart. So you can see that your Y is comfortable on 0 position and your D is comfortable on Y position. So that is how we got this diagram. So you could see this diagram here and is D1, and you could see this diagram here is Y0. By the time you draw your vector diagram, you will get this. We've drawn D1 before and we've drawn Y0 before. So this is how you draw your windings connection. Then the next one is DD2. DD2 means the high voltage side is on delta, the low voltage side is also delta, and they are on 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock means 60 degrees apart. 2 o'clock means what? 60 degrees apart. Because I told you that 1 o'clock is 30 degrees, 2 o'clock is 60 degrees. So what did I tell you? I told you that delta is good at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So which position should you put to ensure that D is leading? So if what it shows that D, small d, is lagging behind big D by 60 degrees. So if we put our big D at 1 o'clock and we put our small d at 11 o'clock, it's still 30 degrees. 1 to 12 is 30 degrees. 12 to 11 is 30 degrees. That means 1 to 11 is 60 degrees. So you can see that it's leading. That means D11 is behind D1 by 60 degrees. So that's exactly how you are going to draw your vector diagram. So you automatically, your DD2 now will now be equal to D1 and small d11. And you can draw your vector diagram to get that. So when you draw your vector diagram, this is what you are going to get. So this is your capital D1 and this is your small d11. So if you go back to our previous lecture where we drew d11 and d1, you will get this diagram. All right, the next one is DD4. DD4 means that the high voltage is delta, the low voltage windings is delta connected, and they are on 4 o'clock. And 4 o'clock means that they are 120 degrees apart. 4 o'clock means they are 120 degrees apart. So our D, I've told you that our D is either good in 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. So, but if you look at it, 120, if you put 1 o'clock, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you put your D1 here, you will not get your positive value. So we decided to use our D11 to get our capital D, which is our high voltage winding. Then we still need 120 degrees apart. If you put it, this is 30, this is 60, this is 90, this is 120, which is D7. So automatically our DD4 means that our high voltage is on D11, our low voltage is on D7. So when you do that, you are going to get this diagram. So DD4 means D11 and D7, which is 120 degrees apart. So this is your diagram for D11 and this is your diagram for D7. By the time you combine the two, you will get this drawing. This is the winding connection for D11 and this is your winding connection for D7. So in case you don't understand, this is your windings. I know we've done D11 before, but we've not done D7. So let me explain D7 for you. This is your windings for your W4. This is your winding for W5. This is your winding for W6. The polarity side, if you see the polarity side of W4 is connected to C. You can see the polarity side of W4 is connected to C. The polarity side of W5 is connected to A. The polarity side of W5 is connected to A. And the polarity side of W6 is connected to B. The polarity side of W6 is connected to B. So it's quite explanatory. The next one is YD5. YD5 means that the high voltage side is star connected, the low voltage side is delta connected, and they are on 5 o'clock, which is 150 degrees apart. I said the reference point should always be the high voltage side. So our high voltage side, we said we prefer it to be on 0 or 6. So when we put our Y on 0, and we're looking for 150, this is 30, this is 60, this is 90, this is 120, and this is 150. So we're going to be having Y0 and D7, Y0 and D7. So our YD5 is equals to Y0 for the high voltage winding and D7 for the low voltage winding. So, and this is how the phasor diagram will be. And we've drawn Y0 before, and we've drawn D7 before. So this is how your transformer windings will be connected. The next one is DY5. DY5. DY5, as I told you, we'll take our D11. This is our D11. It's 150. This is 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So obviously our dy5 will now be equal to d11 and y6, and our phase shift still remains 150 degrees apart. So you can see now that this is d11 and this is y6, and this is how your transformer will be connected. Please, if you are still following this video, I know it has been a very tough one, but if you know you are liking this video, kindly click the subscribe button to this channel so that you get notified when subsequent videos are being posted. We are still going to talk about the testing, how we are going to test our transformer vector winding to see that the windings are accurate. All right, the next one will be YY6. YY6 simply means that the high voltage is star, the low voltage is star, and they are on 6 o'clock, which is 180 degrees apart. So I told you that the reference point should be on the high voltage side, Y. So when we take Y to be Y0, then the 6, 180 will be YC, because this is 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, which is 6 o'clock apart. So this is your Y0 and this is your Y6. You can draw this one for your high voltage windings, which is this. You can draw this one too for your low voltage winding, which is this. Then the next one is DD6. DD6 means that the high voltage is delta, the low voltage too is delta, and they are on 6 o'clock, which is 180 degrees apart. So your D, you must start from 11 or 1 o'clock. So when we put our D on 11 o'clock, you will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is your D5. So we have your DD6 means that your high voltage is D11 and your low voltage is D5. So you draw your D11 here, you draw your D5, and this is how the winding connections will be. Then the next one is YD7. YD7 means that the high voltage is star, the low voltage is delta, and they are 150 degrees apart, 7 o'clock or 7. If you calculate it, it's 450 degrees apart. So you start with the reference point, which is Y. Your Y is Y0, then the next one is D5. If you look at it properly, it's 150 degrees apart. So your YD7 is automatically equal to Y0 and D5. So your high voltage is Y0, your low voltage is D5. And when you draw this, if you have drawn it before, this is your drawing for Y0 and this is your drawing for D5. Next one is DY7. DY7 simply means that your high voltage is delta, your low voltage is star, and they are 150 degrees apart. Take note that your 7 is on the right hand side of the clock, or it's on the left hand side of the clock. Obviously your shifting will be on the right hand side. So if you take your clock now, your D is 1. I told you your D should be 1 or 11. Your D is 1, but because it's 7, which is the left hand side of the clock, it has to be clockwise on the right hand side. So your D is 1. So when it moves to 6, you are going to have 150. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how it moves down to 150 degrees. So obviously your DY7 now will not be D1 and Y6. So your high voltage side this is your D1, your low voltage side, this is your Y6. Then you can draw your vector group diagram like this. So number 13, which is very common on all our transformer, is YD11. So whenever you see YD11 on your transformer, it's very, very common for a step-up transformer or transformer that is used for a step-up. It means that your high voltage winding is star, your low voltage winding is delta, and is on 11 o'clock, which is 30 degrees apart. So how do you draw that? You take your reference point to be Y, and take your delta to be 1. So take note, it's plus 30 degrees. So what this means that you are taking the reference point of this. So it means that the low voltage winding is, if you see that this 11, anything on the left hand side means that the low voltage side is the one leading. So if you look at our diagram now, our Y0 is here, which is our high voltage side, while the low voltage side is D1, which is leading by 30 degrees. So this 30 degrees is also apart. So you can now see that our high voltage now is leading by 30 our low voltage is leading by 30 degrees. So take cognizance that when the last values is taken to be within this part, it simply means that the low voltage is either leading by, I told you, low voltage is leading by 30 degrees, which is YD11, because YD11 means that 30 degrees or 330 degrees. So since we're not using 330, we're using 30 degrees, that means the low voltage is leading the high voltage by 30 degrees. If you look at it now, our low voltage is in front, our high voltage is behind, and they are 30 degrees apart. So you can draw that Y0 and D1, Y0 and D1, and this is the drawing. So the last one is D11. If you look at it, DY11 means that the high voltage is delta, the low voltage is star, and it's on 11 o'clock, which is 30 degrees. This means that the low voltage is leading the high voltage by 30 degrees. The low voltage is leading the high voltage by 30 degrees. So what do? We put our low voltage first. We put our high voltage is usually the reference point, our D. So we put our D11, and it's leading. That means our low voltage should be in front. So when it's in front, it's Y0, and they are 30 degrees apart. So DY11 will now be capital D11 and Y0, and the phase shift remains 30 degrees. So this is our D11, and this is our Y0. And when we draw the diagram, this is how the diagram will be. So you would see that on this section, we've been able to explain how the transformer, both the low voltage side and high voltage side, are being taken into consideration. For those of you that will not that got confused along the line, if you have any question, please feel free to ask on the comment section. I would explain extensively to you what we are talking about, and you'll be able to understand. So for those of you that really did not understand when we changed, when it was 11 o'clock and when it was 7 o'clock, look at it very well. On 11 o'clock is plus 30 degrees moving anti-clockwise, but that means the low voltage is leading the high voltage by 30 degrees. But when it's moving clockwise, it means that the low voltage is lagging the high voltage by 30 degrees. So I believe that this section has been very, very educating. It's very comprehensive, and I'm going to put a link to this course when on our website in case you require the official document, which is the PDF document to this, so that you'll be able to read by yourself and understand extensively. Just kindly click the link and see and get the PDF document so you understand extensively what the vector group is all about. So if this video has been very useful to you, kindly click the subscribe button and subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification icon, because next week we're going to be talking about the vector group test. So we're going to see how we can test a transformer to see that the vector group on the nameplate is also similar to the vector group of the transformer winding. Thank you very much, and see you in our subsequent videos.